now welcome the Charity Other community.
Thank you, debaters, for your performance today. And since this is the last round for this year's National English Tournament for non-POS debates, we will provide some directions for you to keep in mind if you join this kind of debate in the future. So, in the debate, from the affirmative side, we are looking for harms, because only when there is a harm should we change the status quo. So this time, the harms we hear from the affirmative side are about the germs, are about the diseases, are about the equipment, and are about the users. So these are the harms that we have heard from the affirmative side today. And about the solvency of the plan, the affirmative side, we also hear that the budget problem could somehow be tackled, because there was a piece of evidence mentioned by the affirmative side about a study done by written by a principal from a school in Kaohsiung about how much money a student needs to pay per semester. So the budget problem was somehow responded to by the affirmative side. So this time the harm and solvency have been dealt with from the affirmative side. But for the negative side, we want to defend the status quo. We want to defend that everything's fine, the students need to do so. So this time we hear that the negative side tries to defend the need of life education by encouraging students to do the cleaning by themselves. And we also hear that students can learn the habit of hygiene by cleaning by themselves. And we also hear that teachers, they lead the students to do the things together, so the teachers are not excluded from the cleaning job. But in addition to, but aside from the parts that you've done today, if there could be room for improvement in the future, the study provided from the affirmative side, the negative side didn't attack the germs and disease part, because the study was about public restrooms. And the study was not about restrooms on campus. So if you could sort of weaken the effect of the evidence, you could attack that. So is your evidence about public restrooms? Is your study about restrooms on campus? So if this is not restrooms on campus, then you could argue that we haven't heard from what the study is not that related to the topic today. Yeah, but we didn't hear that part, sorry. But you did attack about what kind of equipment students might need when cleaning the toilet, because you mentioned students might not need helmets or gloves or such heavy machines. So we heard that argument from you. Yeah. Okay. And finally, there was something maybe the negative side could pay attention to in the future, because in the middle of your debate, maybe in your constructive speech, you mentioned that exercising can boost the effect of learning. And the study was from Harvard, but I guess, but the affirmative side didn't attack this part. But when we listened to your debate, we sort of wondered that, do you try to connect cleaning the toilet with exercising, and then you want to build on that, so that since cleaning toilet is like exercising, so exercising can increase your learning effect. But that gap, but there seemed to be a gap, a little bit puzzling, because you were trying to connect exercise or cleaning the toilet with exercising, but we didn't really catch the relation between the two. Okay, so so I guess that's all about my part.
So, hi debaters, I'll provide a quick comment. For the issue, I think it's quite a pity that you didn't provide the evidence. That's probably the most harmful part to your debate in your debate. I did provide some evidence on the other side. For example, you specified the principles, you provide the principles remarks, you also provide some statistics. And for the negative one, some reminders for you. For example, you shouldn't give some speech in your Q&A part about the division of labor, and perhaps you shouldn't do it on that so much as your main arguments in the future. Also, no new information in your rebuttal speech for the N2, and for after that, about the ranking system, about the motivation parts, and
and about the point, earlier the judges were talking about division of labor. We're checking with one another, like, did you get the point? I'm not sure. Did you get the point? I'm kind of confused. And every time when I heard division of labor, I'm like, okay, one more chance for me to really figure out what that argument is about. But I failed. So throughout the whole debate, right now, I'm still not sure what that argument is really about. Okay, so you really want to stay on something that is simple and straightforward. When it's something that is really complicated, involves some sort of theory, and we have to understand the theory and to apply the theory to understand the situation, you might want to, even if you want to bring it out, you don't want to put that much emphasis and spend that much time on it. There are other points that you can definitely challenge. In this case, for example, that $100. The moment I heard that, I was like, wow, good, $100 doesn't really sound a whole lot of money, because from the previous round, that was the focus of the debate. Okay, people were saying, oh, the parents cannot, afford and all that. And right away, they told us that it's only $100. So it seems like, wow, this is definitely very affordable. So for the negative, I would say that's a piece of evidence that's really very harmful to you, because that evidence itself almost takes away, your chance of arguing about, cost. Okay, so you probably should really do some damage to that piece of evidence, asking for the source. Okay, $100, is it the average amount of money? If it's average, then that means, for smaller schools, possibly parents have to pay a whole lot, versus a big school. And $100 is just average amount. Okay, so definitely ask more questions about it and try to destroy that piece of evidence, so you can still go back and argue about the cost. The bacteria, yeah. When I heard the bacteria, my issue is not so much of public restroom. Is it really the same as school restroom? Because we do think the commonality between the two is that both types of restaurants are used by a lot of people, on a daily basis. But for me, the issue is, okay, even if there is bacteria, where is the bacteria? Will I really be touching the bacteria? I'm not eating my lunch, from the toilet. So, even though there are a whole lot of bacteria in the toilet, as long as I'm not touching it, right, it has nothing to do with me. I just want to make sure that it's clean. It looks clean. Okay, so that's, just like the previous round, we have people mention that school restroom is not a 5-star hotel, restroom in the 5-star hotels. So as long as it looks clean, that's all we want, right? So we don't really have to be that, set our bar that high, kill the majority of the bacteria. They're there. As long as I'm not touching them, I'm fine. I do want to say something about, in your argument, you have to be very careful about not dropping something that can be possibly used later on by your opponent. And let me give you an example. When people were talking about cleaning restroom, it's different from cleaning, say, your classroom, because it's more challenging. When you say it's more challenging, and that argument comes from the negative, you have to be very careful, because when the minute you say it's more challenging, then it's possible for the affirmative to come back and say, exactly because it's so much more challenging than the regular type of cleaning, we need to outsource restroom to professional cleaners. So our students will not feel so frustrated because they don't have the equipment, they don't have the time. So, and then plus, you admit it's challenging. So now possibly students are feeling really frustrated, even though they know they have to be responsible users, they know they have to clean the restrooms, well for everyone else in the school. But reality is to make the job so much more difficult for them. And I think in this case we do see, the debater from A1, they were talking about, they were talking about this in the rebuttal speech. So, and that kind of shows that they seize that point and they seize the chance to come back and bite you, because you drop a hint for them to develop, their own story and to work for their own stance. So be careful about that. The final point, when I heard I think it was some sort of plan coming from -2, you were saying that the teacher can supervise students cleaning the restroom, and then every class will be assigned to clean a restroom. Okay, when I first heard that, I was like, wow, okay, interesting. And then later on in the rebuttal speech, you're saying that each day, there will be a different class assigned to clean a restroom, okay? So you have to let us know. That is more like a minor repair to the status quo, but you have to let us know what that particular modification can do for us. I think what you're trying to prove is that right now, we only have certain classes assigned to clean certain restrooms. Not every student from every class has the chance to do so. And because of that, they probably don't really, they cannot really empathize with people who are cleaning the restroom. But if we change, we make the rotation a lot faster, we make sure everyone has the chance to clean the restroom, then everyone possibly will have a better chance to develop this kind of empathy towards their fellow students. Then that piece of modification is really very powerful, but you have to make that link more clear rather than just drop it there and it's like, okay, so in this case it's like I am making the link by myself. It's not coming from your speech. Okay, so something like this is very important. And the same thing, the affirmative definitely can challenge. They keep saying, you need to do this to develop responsibility, to develop empathy, to develop, altruism. But then, when not everyone has the chance to have that kind of experience, how can we be sure the majority of the students can get to that point, right? So during your classes and the Q&A, you definitely can ask some questions. Okay, to what extent, what's the percentage of students in each school really have the experience of cleaning the school restroom? If it's only coming down to a relatively small number or small percentage, then that means the majority of students, exactly for the reason that they don't have the chance, so they probably wouldn't be able to develop, this kind of merit or virtue. Yeah. So there's still definitely room, for both sides to make your argument more refined and try to, listen more carefully so you can catch up on these deficiencies and kind of, develop a story that can work to your side. Yeah, but I think this is the very first year that we have non-policy debate, and I do see, some improvements in the national competition compared with the original one. But I also feel like I was probably expecting a little bit more, exactly because this is national. Okay, and then I still saw some old arguments being recycled in the national debate, and I was just thinking, these old arguments, even if you want to recycle them, you probably should still bring them up to a higher level because you heard them and you kind of knew, how they can be tackled. So don't just simply recycle them. You want to recycle them, think about this is, a spiral kind of thing. You want to recycle them, fine, but does make something different about it, rather than just recycle it exactly the way it was first brought out on the original, in the original competition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the non-policy debate now. Now please head back to the rest area for the debaters and coaches. You are cordially invited to watch the third round of policy debate. Please arrive at the venue 5 minutes before the debate starts. Thank you.
好，catch up with you. I'm probably gonna go to
skill 跟。